minimize outside work in places with unhealthy air quality. OHA also recommends that if you're in an area affected by smoke and ash, you should restrict your physical activity and stay indoors with the windows and doors closed to the greatest extent possible. More than 40,000 Oregonians have been evacuated, and approximately 500,000 Oregonians are currently in evacuation zones. That means 500,000 people are either at a level 1, 2, or 3 evacuation alert. Level 1 means to pack up valuables and monitor the situation. Level 2 means to get ready to evacuate on a moment's notice if needed. And level 3 means leave immediately. I can't say this enough. If you are notified by emergency officials to evacuate, please do so immediately. You may not get a second chance. At the same time, if you have not gotten a level 3 alert, remember that's the one that tells you to immediately go. Please monitor your situation closely, but do not panic or try to leave immediately. We need to make sure that the roads stay open for those who are in urgent fire zones. I also implore all Oregonians to stay out of the fire zones right now. I know that rumors of looting are extremely alarming and that it's unsettling not to know whether your home is still standing. Let me assure you that we have the Oregon National Guard and our Oregon State Police monitoring the situation, and preventing looting. However, if you try to go back, you are not only putting your own life at risk, but also those of firefighters and first responders who may have to rescue you. I must make this request to media as well. To all our reporters and media outlets, thank you for so quickly and diligently informing the public of this urgent and evolving situation. Right now, I ask that you too stay away from fire zones so that our first responders can do their jobs. Thank you. I know it's been a rough few days. Many Oregonians are suffering right now, whether displaced themselves or worried about their families and communities while watching our beautiful state burn. We are doing everything we can to fight these fires. Teams on the ground are showing incredible creativity and innovation in addressing this crisis and getting Oregonians the help that they need. Yesterday evening, we learned that our federal emergency declaration was approved. This is good news. It will bring much needed federal aid to Oregon, including additional firefighting resources, search and rescue, and assistance for temporary housing for those who've been displaced. As of now, there are early reports from our state police that there are dozens of missing persons related to the fires, specifically in Jackson, Lane, and Marion counties. We will keep you updated as we gather more information. I'm grateful to be able to offer some improving news today, and even more grateful for the acts of love and support I'm seeing in every community across our entire state. Even in the darkest of times, Oregonians step up to help one another in extraordinary ways. Like Sarah in Molalla, she was forced to leave her home and evacuate with her kids. Once safe, she returned to deliver water to firefighters on the front lines. I've been told that there have been so many donations to the Expo Center in Jackson County that they had to ask people to stop donating. The center is filled with mountains of blankets, pillows, and supplies. Restaurants like Conway's in Springfield and La Margarita in Salem are providing free hot meals to Oregonians impacted by the fire. That's what we do in Oregon. We take care of one another. And this is what gives me confidence that we will get through this and we will be stronger for it. Thank you so much for taking care of each other. Thank you to our firefighters, our National Guard members, and our Red Cross volunteers. And please remember, you can visit wildfire.oregon.gov or your local agency emergency management's website for the latest updates in your community. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Fire Chief, Doug Graff. Doug, it's all yours.
Thank you, Governor. I'll report out today on the weather, which is good news coming our way. I'll speak to 16 large fires that we have across the landscape where our attention is focused, and then turn it back to Governor Brown for the flow for the meeting next. First of all, great news on the front relative to weather. We've been speaking of the unprecedented weather event that's unfolded before us starting Monday this week. That has passed. No longer are we under those strong east wind impacts that have moved all these fires across the landscape. We're currently in a westerly flow from the ocean that brings lower temperatures. I imagine many of you feeling that today. Cooler temperatures along with moisture in the air help the firefight. It'll put us in a position to move from just life safety to the offense against these fires. This condition will carry through the weekend, so this is positive firefighting weather for 3 days. It'll continue into next week with even more favorable conditions. We're growing with more confidence that we'll have moisture coming across the state, and particularly west of the Cascades. So that's a very favorable forecast, and we'll see if that comes to fruition. But the discussion is in the range to 1/4 of an inch to an inch west of the Cascades, and that'll be a huge benefit for us. We're under a smoke inversion that is expected to stay for much of the state. We may get windows of clean air, but generally speaking, smoke inversion in place. What that does is put a cap over intense fire activity, but it also limits our ability to fly aviation assets. Now I'll move to the fire conditions across the landscape, those 16 fires I spoke to. I'll start with the Riverside fires, the Riverside fire, the Beachy fire, and the Lions Head that are all burning east of Clackamas County, Marion counties, up the Santiam Gorge. This is a dramatic fire environment. This is where we've seen some of the most dramatic fire growth in the state. Combined acreage across these fires is in the range of 440,000 acres. They stretch from Warm Springs to Estacada, which is a span of approximately 56 miles. We have not seen the likes of this fire in this state, this integrated with our communities ever before. We have a tremendous workload ahead of us. Our primary mission is to maintain control lines that we have been establishing and establish new containment lines, particularly on the west side of that fire, before it continues to encroach into Estacada, Colton, Molalla, Scott Mills, and Mayans communities. Push those containment lines and clear the highways up the Santiam Highway, up through the top of the Cascades, so we can gain access and improve containment lines there. This is conversations I have not been speaking about for the past 4 days, establishing and maintaining containment lines, and the weather is going to be favorable for us. We have a tremendous amount of resources rolling our direction from states across the country to support that effort, along with military assets and then the local assets we have. Moving south, we have the Holiday Farm Fire, and that's in the McKenzie Highway system, sitting about 156,000 acres. Absolutely impressive work in the last 48 hours on this fire. We have anchored control lines on the east side of the fire, a significant portion on the west side of the fire, working to tie control lines on the north and south side of that fire. A heavy effort of local forest landowner equipment, absolutely instrumental in that firefight and making tremendous progress there. Once again, continued focus on opening those highway corridors so we can triage the loss and gain access for internal control lines and continue to fight fire internally and across the perimeter of those fires to minimize fire spread. Moving south to the Umpqua Highway, we have the Archie Fire sitting about 115,000 acres, establishing containment lines there. Finding anchor spots has been a little bit more difficult, not as successful as the Holiday Farm, but we are making progress. Once again, a strong contingent forest landowner asset, dozers, heavy equipment, rolled up there several days ago. We've been in a defensive posture on all these fires, and now we're able to take an offensive posture and push containment lines around fires. So I expect continued progress on the Archie Fire. The Thielsen Fire is a fire I have not reported out to you on, north of Crater Lake until now. Moved through Diamond Lake, sits at about 5,000 acres. That's a challenging ground, beginning to move federal assets and resources into that region. I'll move now to the Auberchain Fire, 20+ thousand acres on the Auberchain Fire. Challenging fire runs, having some confidence on control lines closer to the communities to the northeast and east side of that fire. Open forest land, haven't got into established lines there, focusing on the life safety and starting to be beginning to establish control lines on that fire. I just highlighted finally the Slater Fire that came into us from California. That's a significant fire. We do have resources on that up through Illinois Valley, managed by an incident command team from California, integrating our local resources to support that fire. I'll stop there for one moment to highlight and manage expectations relative to these 16 fires I'm reporting on. These are the 8 fires that I expect will be on our landscape burn until the winter rains fall. Those fires represent close to 1 million acres on the landscape. And we are going to prioritize containment lines where life safety is threatened and push containment lines in deeper into the woods and hold those fires at the minimum acres we possibly can. But to manage expectations, we will see smokes and we will have firefighters on those fires